Have you ever just stared at a German word and thought, how on earth do I even begin to pronounce this thing?
I know exactly what you mean.
I mean, it can feel pretty overwhelming when those unfamiliar letter combinations just sort of stare back at you.
Like a challenge,
Yeah,
daring you to try and say them out loud.
exactly. And today we're going to equip you with the tools to conquer that challenge.
Yes, we are.
Because we're going deep into the fundamentals of the German language. The alphabet.
The foundation.
The very building blocks of how German sounds, and more importantly, how it's actually spoken.
It's kind of like a code.
That is?
Once you crack the code of the alphabet, you unlock the whole system.
You do.
It makes those intimidating words suddenly approachable.
And to guide us on this journey, we've been looking at a fascinating conversation between Alex and I, someone who's just starting out on his German language adventure,
A newbie,
and Lisa, who speaks German fluently.
our resident expert.
Picture this. They're in a cozy little coffee shop, surrounded by the scent of freshly brewed coffee and, that comforting weight of books.
Stacks of them everywhere.
Everywhere.
And they're diving into the absolute basics of German pronunciation.
And our mission today is to eavesdrop on their conversation and really distill the pronunciation of each German letter with crystal clarity.
Especially those sounds that differ from their English counterparts.
Right, because as we'll see, some letters sound very familiar while others have a unique German twist.
Those are the ones that can trip you up.
Exactly. So let's jump right in, just like Lisa did with Alex, starting with the letter A.
She explained it as like the A in car.
So nice and open, right?
Precisely, that's the key, pure and open.
Not like the A in cat.
No, not at all, much more relaxed.
More like you're settling into a comfy armchair.
That's a great way to put it. And what's really interesting is how consistent that sound stays in German.
Yeah, unlike English, where the letter A can sound like so many different things.
Yeah. All right, think about father, cat, Abel. They all have different A sounds.
It's a shapeshifter.
Exactly. But in German, A is pretty much always
That's good to know, less confusion right off the bat.
Absolutely. One less thing to worry about.
All right, so next up, Alex asked about B. Is it the same as the English bay?
Close. But Lisa clarified that it's bay.
Bad.
But with a softer landing than our English bay, almost like you're gently cutting off the Y sound.
I see. So instead of that strong bay sound,
You have a more subtle bay.
more like B without quite finishing the E sound.
Exactly. And that's actually a common theme with German consonants.
Really?
They often have less of that breathy finish that we have in English.
Interesting. Okay, so let's move on to C. Now, this one I know has a bit of a twist.
It does indeed. Lisa pointed out that C on its own is pronounced tes, like the Teds in cats. But here's the catch. C loves to team up with other letters in German.
Oh, boy.
And together they create entirely new sounds. Think about combinations like sh or sh.
Yeah, those are definitely unique to German.
They are. We'll save those for another deep dive, but
Okay.
it just highlights that C isn't always straightforward.
It's a team player.
It is a master of disguise.
So be prepared to encounter C in different guises.
Exactly. Keep your ear out for those subtle variations.
All right, moving on to D. Is it like the English D?
Very similar. Lisa described it as D.
Again, with that slightly softer pronunciation.
Exactly. A little less punchy than our English D.
Okay, so D for D. And what about E?
Now, that one is straight for A, like the E in get. Nice and familiar for English speakers.
Phew, a little break from the unfamiliarity.
Every little bit helps, and F is also pretty straightforward. F, just like in English.
F.
No surprises there.
And G.
G, like the G in go.
Ah.
But again, listen for that slightly softer release of the sound at the end.
So not a hard G. No more gentle.
Okay, H. Now, this is one that I know can be tricky for English speakers.
It can be because it plays different roles depending on where it is in a word.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Lisa explained that at the beginning of a word H is ha, like a soft breath. But in the middle or at the end of a word, it often goes silent.
A silent H?
Yep. It's
How?
like a ghost. It's there, but you can't see it.
So it's not pronounced at all?
Not really. Instead of being pronounced, it kind of stretches out the vowel sound that comes before it.
So it's more of a silent helper?
Exactly. It modifies the vowel sound rather than having its own distinct sound.
That's a good way to think about it. Okay, next up is I.
That's a nice clear E, like the E, C.
Yeah.
Another one that feels pretty natural for English speakers.
And then we have J, which I know is completely different from the English J.
Absolutely. Lisa said it's your hot, sounding just like our English Y. as in yes.
So whenever you see a J in German, think Y sound.
Exactly. It's a complete switch from what we're used to.
What about K?
Ka, just like in English.
Ka, another familiar one.
Yep, nice and easy. And L is the same too. L.
So far, so good. How about M and N?
M and N. Very similar to English, perhaps a touch more nasal in some pronunciations.
But generally pretty straightforward.
Yeah, you've got those down.
Okay, moving on to O.
Oh, like the O in open.
Oh, that classic open O sound.
Exactly. And P is P. Again, maybe just a hint less breathy than a strong English P.
So P.
You got it. And now for Q, which Lisa mentioned, almost always has a U right behind it.
They're like best buddies.
They are. You'll rarely see a Q standing alone in German.
So what happens when they get together?
Well, when they join forces, Q makes a KV sound, like in the English word quick.
KV.
But when pronouncing the letter Q on its own, as Lisa did, it's Ku.
Okay, so Q on its own is Ku, but Q together is KV.
Exactly. Remember that U is always lurking nearby.
Now we come to the letter that often strikes fear into the hearts of language learners, the dreaded R.
Ah, yes. The German R, infamous for its unique sound.
And Lisa described it as R with a soft rolling sound in the throat.
And this is where things can get a little tricky. Because the pronunciation of R can vary slightly depending on the region in Germany.
So there are regional dialects.
Exactly. Some regions use a sound produced further back in the mouth, almost a guttural sound.
Guttural.
Yeah. While others might have a more subtle trill.
Okay, so there's a range of R sounds.
There is, but the key takeaway is that it's generally quite different from the R sound we use in English.
Which is formed more with the tongue.
Exactly. The German R involves more the throat.
It sounds like it takes some practice to master.
It does, but don't let it intimidate. You just keep practicing and you'll get it.
All right, on to S. Is it like the English as in sun?
Lisa pointed out a crucial rule here. While the letter name is S, when S appears at the beginning of a word, it often sounds like a Z as in zoo.
Oh, interesting. So it changes its sound depending on its position.
Exactly. Think of the German word for sun. Sun. It starts with that Z sound.
Sun.
It's a sneaky little detail, but it can make a big difference in how you pronounce words.
Definitely something to watch out for. Okay, T. What about that one?
That's T. Similar to English, but again, aim for a slightly softer, less aspirated T sound.
Okay, T. And then we have U.
It's oo, like in mood.
Ooh, a nice long U sound.
Exactly. And vis. Well, this one is another curveball for English speakers.
Because we pronounce it one way, and in German it's different.
Exactly. Lisa explained that D is pronounced fell, sounding just like our English F as in fish.
So a German V will often sound like an English F.
That's right. And to make things even more interesting, W is different too.
Of course it is.
Lisa said the W is V, making a soft off sound like the V in van.
So it's almost a reverse situation from V.
It is the German W sounds like our V, and the German V sounds like our F.
It's easy to get those mixed up.
It is, especially when you're first starting out.
All right, what about X?
That's X, just like in box, a familiar sound.
Except why?
Now this one is a bit unique. Lisa called it Ypsilon. And the sound itself is often described as a mix of the U sound in flute and the I sound in machine.
Ypsilon.
It's a sound that doesn't have a perfect equivalent in English.
So how do you even explain it?
Well, think of the vowel sound in the French word tu. It's quite similar to that.
Okay, I can kind of hear that. And finally, we've reached the end of the alphabet with Z.
And Lisa explained that it's pronounced tet, just like the tet sound in cats.
Tets? So both C and Z can make that tet sound in German.
That's right, depending on the context.
Wow, we made it through the entire German alphabet.
We did.
And, you know, reading through the transcript of Alex and Lisa's conversation, I was really struck by how encouraging Lisa was throughout the whole thing.
She was a great teacher, very patient, supportive.
And those got it moments from Alex are something I think a lot of language learners can relate to, those little sparks of understanding.
Those are the moments that keep you going.
And Lisa really emphasized the importance of practice, which is something we can't stress enough either.
Right. Just hearing these pronunciations once is a great start. But to really internalize them, you need to practice them over and over again.
Use them in real words.
Exactly. Make them a part of your active vocabulary.
And what's even more exciting is that Alex and Lisa hinted at tackling those infamous allotes next time.
Oh, yes. The allotes, those two little dots that can change the pronunciation of a vowel.
Another adventure awaits.
It does. But for now, mastering the basic alphabet is a huge accomplishment.
It is the foundation for everything else.
Exactly. It's like learning the notes on a musical instrument.
Before you can play a symphony.
Precisely, you need that solid base to build upon.
So to sum up, you now have a solid understanding of how each letter of the German alphabet is pronounced, all thanks to this glimpse into Alex and Lisa's conversation.
And what's really fascinating is that these seemingly small differences in pronunciation, these subtle shifts in sound, they actually have a much bigger impact than you might think.
In what way?
Well, they influence not just how you pronounce individual words, but also how you understand spoken German and how easily you can make yourself understood when you're speaking.
It's all connected.
Exactly. Those subtle nuances of sound, they shape the entire language.
So as you continue to explore German, really pay attention to those little details.
The way the vowels are formed, the subtle differences in consonant sounds.
Maybe even seek out recordings of native German speakers and try to pick out those distinctions we talked about.
It's like training your ear to hear the music of the language.
And who knows, maybe someday you'll be having your own conversation in a cozy coffee shop, just like Alex and Lisa.
Sharing your own got it moments along the way.
Exactly, passing on the knowledge and the love of the language.
And that's what it's all about.
It is. Until next time, keep practicing and keep exploring the fascinating world of the German language.
Just auf Wiedersehen.